Welcome to this video in which I'll be talking and discussing sales and advertising, the motor verbs, and how to control a discussion in a meeting, yes, when there are many people. So the first one is sales and advertising. And again, I divided everything into categories. The first one is nouns and adjectives, and the second one is verbs. So when it comes to sales and advertising, we have a list of nouns and adjectives. The first one is advertising itself. It's the main noun, yes. Advertisement is when you want to sell something, you create an advertisement. You have a sales agent or representative, a person who wants to sell something at a company. They are paid to do so. A seller, it can be too. A buyer, of course, someone who buys something. Customer, client, you know those words. E-commerce, everything that has to do with technology. Retail, wholesale, the brand, that is the name of the company. The catalog, that is the brochure of with all the products of the company, where you can see what the company offers, how much the products cost. You can see where it is located, how much time they will take for the shipment. Well, you've got all the information there. Then you have the royalty, the target. The target is your objective. Okay, you as a company will always have your target client. And then you have the revenue, and finally the following up or the follow-up. Yes, that is once you finish with when you finish selling something, when the product is already in hands of your customer or client, you want to follow it up. So to know how it continues, if they are happy with the product or not. Then you have the verbs. You have to enter the market, attract customers with your advertisements. Remember that. Expand the range of products or services. Offer discounts. Sometimes you've got to do it when you're not selling what you want or when you are not achieving your goals. Launch an advertising. Promote the company's name. Close a deal. Boost sales. That is excellent. And increase the market share. I mean, your participation in the market. Well, these are all verbs related to sales and advertising. Of course, the verbs are these: enter, attract, expand, offer, launch, promote. But I included here some phrases that would be useful. Enter the market, attract what? Customers, okay? Everything has to be in context so you can learn it better. Now I will discuss the modal verbs. The modal verbs are words that English people, American, Australian people use to show that they have a certain level of education. Okay, and you as a speaker of English as a second language, of course, will have to know how to use them. The first one that is very used and is very commonly known is can. I'm sure that you have used it many times. So can is used to show that something is possible in the present or the future. In affirmative sentences and questions. We can finish the report today, okay? Sarah can get a promotion if she works hard next month. So we are showing that that is possible. Then, something is permitted in the present or the future. In affirmative sentences and questions. So it means that it is permitted by law or by your boss, for example, someone who has more authority than you. The students can have a breakdown. That is, the authority is the teacher. They will let you know whether you can have a break or not. And then, can we leave the office early today? You're asking for permission in that case. And finally, that something is prohibited in the present or the future in negative sentences. I mean, you can't do it. The employees can't wear casual clothes in the office. They can't. They're not allowed to do that. Uh, I included here how to use it, the subject, can, and the verb in the base form. Remember that you've got the list, column 1, column 2, column 3. You will use the column 1 here, yes? So you use the subject, the person, you use can, and you use the verb. And then you have the complement. Do you remember what the complement was? I already told you that the complement was the extra information, like the place or the time, yeah? And then if you want to make a negation, you have to use not. And here I wrote it, cannot, yes? Maybe you have the other way in which you can express it, that is can't. This is an abbreviation, the short form. I included here cannot as a long form because you will be using English as a formal language, okay? Inside your company, or maybe talking to your teacher or to your professor. So it's going to be necessary here to use the long version. And then you have the questions. In this case, what you've got to do is to place the can at the very beginning. Can plus a person plus a verb. Remember to always use the first column. I wrote examples. The company can easily report a fraud. The company cannot easily report a fraud. Can the company easily report a fraud? The second mode of verb that we'll study now is be allowed to. When I talk about be allowed to, it means that we have to use the verb to be. Is, are, am allowed to. And you will use it to show that something is permitted in the past, the present, or the future. Okay? That something was permitted in the past, that something is permitted in the present, and that something will be permitted in the future. In affirmative sentences and questions. For example, the students are allowed to have a break now. Are we allowed to leave the office early today? Martha was allowed to stay with her mother at the hospital. And we also use it to show that something is prohibited in the past, that something was prohibited in the past, that something is prohibited in the present, or that something will be prohibited in the future. For example, the employees aren't allowed to wear casual clothes in the office. That's too bad. I wasn't allowed to play the video during the presentation. The employees weren't allowed to take a long break. So remember to always use the verb to be. Yes, is, are, was aware. Is, are, was aware. Plus allowed to. You have to write the two words together. And you use the verb in the base form. So remember the first column. If you want to say something negative, you will use is not, are not, was not, or were not. And again, you will use the first column. And finally, if you want to make a question, you have to set is, are, was aware at the very beginning. Then you will use the subject and then you will use the modal verb allowed to. And the base form, I mean the first column of the verb. For example, the employees are allowed to have some days off. Thanks God. The employees are not allowed to have some days off. And finally, are the employees allowed to have some days off? That's a question. The other phrasal verb I was gonna say, the other modal verb that we'll be studying is have to. Have to is like must in the present. Must has more intention coming from the law, but anyway, have to nowadays it is used. They don't vary too much. So something is mandatory in the present or the future. I mean, it's by law. In affirmative sentences and questions, we have to sell all these units this month. Yes or yes? Do you have to work until late today? Is it necessary? Martha has to travel for work next week. And then we use have to show that something is not mandatory, but rather optional. I mean, that it's good for you, but it's not necessary. It's good, but not necessary. I work at the primary school. I don't have to work on Sundays. I can do it, yes, of course, but I don't have to do it. Lily doesn't have to finish the report today. The deadline is next week. You don't have to worry about that. You don't have to work extra hours tomorrow. Here you've got the way in which you can write the sentences. First of all, you will place the subject, I mean the doer of the action, the person or the animal or whatever, plus have to or has to. Have to is for I, you, we, and they, and then you have has to, that is for he, she, or it. And you will use the verb in the base form, so in the first column, plus the complement. The complement, remember that will that is the place or the time whenever the action uh, is done. Then for negative sentences, you will have to use does not for he, she, or it, or do not for I, you, we, and they. And then something that is necessarily important to say here is that you will use have to. People, this is necessary. You will not use has to in negations. You have to use have to. And then you have the verb in the base form, that is the first column plus a complement. Finally, in questions, you use do or does according to the person. Do, I, you, we, and they, and does he, she, or it, plus the subject, I mean the person, and then you have to again. So no has to. In negations or in questions, you will not use has to. Has to only for positive sentences. Well, here I wrote an example. All employers have to pay taxes for hiring people. All employers do not have to pay taxes for hiring people. Do all employers have to pay taxes for hiring people? Then we have the modal verb need to. Yes, need to is like have to. And we use it to say that something is necessary in the present or the future in affirmative sentences and questions. We need to sell all these units this month. It's like the previous one. We have to sell all these units this month. Um, we use it to say that something is not necessary in the present or in the future, the same as have to. I work at a primary school. I don't need to work on Sundays. Okay, it's the same as saying I don't have to work on Sundays. And here you've got the structure. You've got the subject, need to or needs to. Remember that needs to is for he, she, or it. And then you have the base form, the first column. In negations, you will use does not for he, she, or it, and then you will use do not for I, you, we, and they, and need to. And in case you want to make a question, you will start it by using the words do or does, plus the subject, plus need to, plus the verb in the base form, plus the complement. Martha needs to travel for work next week. Martha does not need to travel for work next week. Does Martha need to travel for work next week? Okay, people, this is the end of the video. Thank you very much for listening to me and paying attention to my explanation.